Hello. Happy
Hello.
November.
Happy November.
Oh my gosh. I was just right before I came on, I thought, we're only three-quarters of the way through this year, the Chinese year.
The Chinese year.
Yeah,
Yes. Yes.
we've got
We're
some
almost to
time.
the end of the Victorian calendar year.
Yeah. So, welcome everybody. Welcome into the
Welcome.
November energy update. It's good to see you, my friend.
Yeah.
So, it feels like there's a lot going on. I think we all know
You
there's.
think?
I hope I hope we don't come across as disrespectful when we're giggling or making light of what's happening. But I hope you're finding laughter and levity wherever you can during these days. This kind of energy that we're learning
Yeah.
to navigate, because it I think the energy has a tendency to get pretty serious.
Yeah.
You know, everybody's thinking about the end of the year, plus there's a lot of energy crisis situations happening, you know, all over the planet.
Yeah.
And um, I think, I don't know about you, but I feel like our mission here is, or our vision in what we're doing is to just provide some clarity, or like, here's some potential energy that you might bump into, and here's
Hmm.
how to look at it and maybe appreciate it, rather than seeing anything that we talk about as, oh no, I got to be careful this year, or I'm afraid, or this or that, or this is a good month for me. It's we can we have a choice in how we're going to handle all of this stuff, right? So, do you want to add anything onto that? Because I feel like I could just go on and on about that.
I love that. And the only thing I have to add to that is this is why I love astrology, is because it can, as astrologers, we can tell you where the rainstorm is going to be and where to bring an umbrella and galoshes. We
Mm-hmm.
don't know all of the details of exactly what's going to happen, but we can give you a heads up of what the energy is going to look like for the month
Mm-hmm.
so that you can either prepare, take it to heart, throw it over your shoulder, whatever that
Yeah.
is. You can just be a little bit more prepared for the energy ahead.
Mm-hmm. And I was talking to somebody the other day, and I realized that what feng shui does for me, and the astrology part, is it brings me comfort. It
Mm,
brings me a sense of, oh, okay, well, this is just a period of time. It's going to pass.
yeah,
Just like it always does. And it's nice to have, I like those reminders that it is just a phase, or it is just Mercury in retrograde, or it is just a rough month, or there's a lot of
yeah,
water, or whatever, because it makes me feel hopeful, and it makes me understand and not get locked into thinking, oh crap, is this going to be the rest of my days are going to be like this? Is this how
yeah.
time's going to end? So I'm glad that we're having a little bit of a discussion around that. So should we jump into November energy?
Yes,
Do
let's
we
do
want to
it.
jump in?
Well, we don't have a choice.
This is true.
November's here.
It's
Here
here.
we go.
There we go. Well, in the Chinese world, it's a yin water pig month. And that's a lot of water. It's a lot of water
Yeah,
because the pig is a water creature. Its
yeah,
master element is yang water. So we have like this still water sitting above this turbulent water, right? So it's like it might look good on the surface, kind of like that saying where the duck looks like he's just floating serenely across the pond, but under the
yeah.
surface, he's just paddling like crazy.
Yes.
So that's what it kind of feels like, that we can stay on the surface, right? And not that staying on the surface is a negative thing. Like,
Hmm.
staying on the surface can be a safe thing,
Yeah,
because going deep is scary. Or we can use the surface kind of pond analogy as a period of reflection, right? I'm just going to stand on the shore and just and look at the reflection, my reflection of what's happening. Or there's that potential to go underwater, go deep,
hmm,
go subsurface and explore the turbulence, because there's other worlds in that
yeah.
exploration. So what are your thoughts on this, all this water energy?
Well, it's just kind of like a continuation of the month of October. We
Hmm.
had a ton of that those, turbulent waters that were around us and in us. And I think that October was a good opportunity to take a deep dive into our emotions, to really identify how we felt about things. November is going to be just as intense, in some ways, a lot more intense because
Mm-hmm.
you've got those two layers of water.
Mm-hmm.
So I recommend to anyone this month, if you're having a hard time with your emotional energy, reach out to someone.
Mm-hmm.
Have a conversation with people that you love. If you need a therapist, reach out to a therapist, get an appointment.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be, and we're heading into the holidays, which can be, I mean, for a lot
Yeah.
of people, they love the holidays. And I
Mm-hmm.
know a lot of people that despise the holidays,
Mm-hmm.
and they're preparing for, a lot of people suffer from seasonal depression. So
Mm-hmm.
people are just kind of ramping up to kind of prepare for the cold weather. So I say, if you can use this month to get together with people that you love, please do it, because
Mm-hmm.
isolating might be a little bit too difficult to navigate
Mm-hmm.
these waters
Mm-hmm.
alone.
I agree. I mean, it's scary when you're alone in that kind of energy. And it's so
Yeah,
easy these days to connect with a therapist because they're doing telemed, and you and
yeah,
I kind of do that too, right? So if you're needed, like just a reflection on your chart to
yeah,
see, like for the month to see how this energy is influencing you, or even just for the end of the year,
yeah,
we can meet you like this, or other ways, and just connect with you to help you get grounded, because I think
mhm,
that's what we need most during these kind of really fluid, unpredictable moments or days or hours, is to stay grounded, to stay
yeah,
centered. And I keep, envisioning like a boat on an ocean. It's like it can be calm seas, like that still
mhm,
water we talked about, but then the wind changes, the storms roll in, and it gets turbulent.
yeah,
So finding shore, finding land to plant your feet on, dropping anchor to
yeah,
hold you in place. And that's what you're saying, is reach out to somebody to anchor you so that you
yeah,
don't feel alone, so that you can come back to your center.
mhm,
So please, 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 and I, I, I know I can speak from personal experience, having dealt with many, many years of depression when I was younger. And even, I'm a kind of a loner person. I'm very introverted. I like my space. And I know you feel like you might be burdening somebody, or it's like maybe they're
yeah,
too busy, or they're not going to understand me. They don't need to understand. But having somebody present for you and going on a walk, or just somebody that you can sit next to in a theater, can be helpful. So don't deprive yourself, or if you know of somebody that is, you can tell that this is a rough time of year. Like you said, the holidays are triggering for a lot of people.
mm,
They can be very traumatic, especially when everybody else in the world thinks it's such a big deal or so
yeah,
wonderful.
yeah,
You feel like
yeah.
something's wrong with you.
Uh-huh. I can attest to that. I'm one of the people that do not like the holidays.
Hmm.
They're extremely
Yeah,
triggering to me.
me neither.
It's not a happy time of year for me. So
Hmm.
I have to find things, hanging out with friends, movie night, having a dinner to, celebrate with my
Hmm.
friends. That's what I've had to do over the years to kind of mitigate the
Hmm.
depressive energy that's connected to the holidays.
Yeah.
So,
And I think a lot of the things that we're saying seem like really mundane or really simple, but that's
yeah,
what anchoring is, right?
yeah,
It's not
it is.
elaborate. It doesn't take a lot of planning. It's just basic connection. It's basic presence. It doesn't need to be, a big session. It can be very simple. And sometimes
Yeah.
that's what we need. And because I feel like depression and sensitive people and this kind of water energy and everything that everybody's tapping into and picking up, it's complicated. We can't
Oh, yeah.
solve the problems. We don't have a fix. Elections don't happen till next year. Or my contribution of $10, what's that going to do to these people over here that need it? So go to the opposite. And I know we've talked about that before. If the world is so complex and so convoluted, then go simple. Go
Yeah.
basic. And with that, it's a pig year or a pig month.
Yeah.
And
Pig month.
the pig might add to the drama of it all, the
Yeah.
overdoing of it
Yeah.
all. But you know a lot about pigs, so tell me, tell us about
Well, pig is the last sign in the zodiac, in the zodiac wheel. So they call the pig the finisher. So I tell people, especially November, as you're preparing for the winter, this is a great month to sum things up, to finish projects that have been kind of on the back burner for a while. And, that can kind of guide and direct the pig's energy because the pig can be kind of a drama queen and it kind of can be overreactive to a lot of different things,
it. Hmm.
especially when we're going into a month where there's a lot of people that spend time with their families, right? So,
And pig out.
Thanksgiving in the United States, we celebrate that holiday and it brings families together. So, having a good project to ground you in to finish before the winter comes, that's what I recommend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Pig is about home and family. They like, everything to feel good and to look good. So tend to your home, tend to
Yeah.
your family, keep it simple. Doesn't need to be elaborate. Gosh, sometimes when I'm watching TV or some of these talk shows and they're trying to give you holiday tips of what to prepare for entertaining, it's like, I'm thinking to myself, who does that? Like, who has time for that or who has the money for that anymore?
Yeah.
But, they're on the flip side, they're also showing how to do it more less expensively, do it
Mm,
more thrifty and that kind of stuff. So with that pig energy, everybody's going to be influenced by this pig energy,
mm,
no matter who you are and what your chart is. And that pig has a tendency to be a little self-indulgent, doesn't really create boundaries. Oh, I'll have another slice of pie, or I'll have another drink, or it's okay if so and so comes over for Thanksgiving and then there's a big fight. We
mhm.
we want to make sure that we're holding true, because I don't know about you, but like right after a holiday, I'm like, well, that's never going to happen again. And then the next holiday comes and it's like, then I feel
Yeah,
guilty. I feel like I got to create that whole scenario again. And then what
yeah,
happens? I'm like, well, that was stupid. Why did I put
yeah,
myself through that? So stick to that. If you've told yourself, hey, we're going to keep the holidays small this year, or we're going to only
yeah,
do it this way, stick to that. That's a
yeah,
personal boundary that
yeah.
we need to step into and hold true.
Or I don't feel like cooking this year. Someone
Hmm.
else's turn.
Yeah, love that.
Delegate to someone else. If you're
Hmm.
overwhelmed by all of the water energy and you see
Mm.
one person in your family or a friend that isn't,
Yeah,
and it's pretty visible on people's faces how they're doing and how they're feeling.
yeah.
And if your face is the look of death during November, you're not the one. You're not the one to be doing the holiday party.
Right.
So just take a cue from your own face and the people around you. Just gauge whose energy is
Mm.
really up for it.
Yeah,
And if you're not up for it, then don't do it.
I agree with that. Thank you for saying that. Um, Too, I was thinking, like when we gather, make sure that the time is scheduled. Make sure that you know what
Mm,
you're going to do. Set up a craft project you can do as a family or a movie that you can watch. So there's just not this lag time of where people are trying to fill in with conversation, because those fill-ins aren't probably productive. They're probably not healthy because somebody's going to interject a political thing or what's happening
yeah,
overseas, and that's not grounding. That's not anchoring and coming together and feeling safe.
yep.
So schedule, here's the start time, here's the end time. This is what we're going to do. We're going to play a game. Keep it simple, so that everybody can feel grounded.
Hmm.
I don't know why I feel like I got to stay on this topic, so I'm just going to say one more thing. When
Okay.
it comes to the things like on the on the news or things that we're hearing from other people about what's happening in other countries or in our country, with all this water energy, it doesn't help to just dive into the ocean with all the other turmoil with all the other unknowns. So stay present, stay grounded. The more of us, because I feel like there's a I don't know, maybe I don't know if other people experience this, but I feel like in order for me to honor what you're going through, I need to feel what you're feeling. That's not
Mhm.
true. I can hold and ground space for you, or I can hold the light for you to have your experience.
Yeah.
But if everybody on the planet is a mess at the same time, we're not going to make it.
Yeah.
That's why you have people have rough moments and people have solid moments. That's how we balance out the energy. So be grounded in your own life. That will help other people on the planet who are not grounded, who
Yeah.
don't know what's coming and going and if they're going to make it. In that water's the yin emotion of water is fear. And so
Mm.
that's what we're navigating this year or this month. So stay grounded in a way that you're holding or anchoring the rest of the world or anchoring to one community or one person that needs it.
Yep.
Okay.
I love
So
that.
if you have a snake in your chart, tell me.
Hi, present. I think this may be why I've always struggled with November.
Yeah.
November has always been a struggle for me, even since I was little.
Mm,
And that forms clash energy. The pig and the snake are opposite the zodiac wheel. So when you're looking at clash energy, it can be really super intense for the opposite animal, which is
mm,
why we always go over what the opposite animal is for the month, because this is a time to lay low. Now, when I want to clarify something, just because you're the like for snakes, the opposite of the pig, it doesn't mean that there's going to be change. It doesn't mean that there's not going to be changes.
mm-hmm,
In fact, it often means that there is quite
mm-hmm,
big changes when it's the opposite animal. And the reason why we tell you to lay low is because you're going to need the energy and strength for whatever changes come.
mm.
So
Yes.
if you're placing your energy on things that are not beneficial to you, or
Mm-hmm.
things that there's nothing that you can do to help, pull your energy back so that when those changes come, you can funnel it into that.
Great idea. That's such a good idea because I think if we get too busy, we miss the change that's meant to
Yeah.
happen, or we're pushing against it, or we're fighting it, we're resisting
Mhm.
it. And that's
Yeah.
not water energy. That's not going with the
Oh.
flow.
Well, and what happens when you push water? Nothing. Not a damn thing. It goes right through your fingers.
So true.
So resistance is futile. Go with the
Yeah.
flow.
Yeah.
If- Act like you're on an inner tube floating on top of the water and just allowing it to
Yeah.
take you where it needs to go.
Yeah. So snake, just lay low. I love that
Yeah.
visual. And it depends on where the snake is in your chart.
Yes.
Where's the snake in your chart?
It's my year animal.
Okay.
So it represents my life path and what I'm doing out there,
Hmm.
my relationships with others, friendships, things
Hmm.
like that.
Yeah. So if it's the month you were born, that's your relationship with your birth family. It's also how you
Yeah.
react to the world and it's your ego and your belief systems. So that will be challenged this month.
Yeah.
What about the day pillar? What does that represent?
It represents your body, this thing we're inhabiting while we're here on the planet, right? So if you have a clash animal or a snake in your day pillar, watch your health.
Mm,
If you're going to a family party and you know someone has a cold, don't go.
yeah.
Don't go.
Hmm. Great tip. Great tip. And then if it's in your first pillar, the hour you were born, it represents your emotional body and even your relationship with your children. It's your feelings. So it might be a more emotional time for you because snake is a fire animal and this pig is a water animal. So there might be this flood of unknown emotions that come to you. And it's like you said, I think it's helpful to like look back. How typically are you in November? It's like even look at your calendar. Is it usually like pretty empty? Is it overscheduled? Do you have a lot of events that you're going to? Because that's pig energy. Pig's a
Yeah.
party animal where snake isn't. Snake, you guys party downstairs, I'll be up in my room.
Yeah, I'll be over there. Bye.
Anything
Yeah.
else you want to talk about with Chinese astrology?
No, I think that sums it up.
Yeah. Okay, so what's happening in the western skies?
Oh, good grief. The key word for the month of November is intense. We're now into Scorpio season. Scorpio is the sign that is the most intense energy of the whole zodiac. And Scorpio is a water sign. And in Western astrology, there's three water signs: Cancer, which represents the ocean; Pisces, which represents gas; and Scorpio, which represents ice.
Oh, interesting.
So it's that frozen water, it's that
Mm,
frozen intensity, right?
mm-hmm.
So Scorpio tends to be a black and white sign. It's either here or here.
Okay.
And in the world right now, there's so many things that are going on that are so divisive.
Mm-hmm.
And so with this energy that's ramping up to be very watery, very intense, and cold as ice, we need to make sure that we're keeping ourselves softer. We're the ones that can melt the ice. We're the ones that can break through that barrier to come back together.
Mm-hmm.
November is going to be really intense, but starting fights with people on the opposite side of you is not going to be helpful, especially with all of the emotional energy we're navigating.
What animal is good at, or what zodiac, a Western zodiac is good at being more neutral?
Oh, Libra, 100%. Libra is the
Oh,
sign
okay.
of the justice scales.
Okay.
And it's kind of interesting because Venus, the goddess of relationships and peace, is heading into her home sign, which is Libra.
Mm,
So that Venus and Libra energy has the potential to bring people back together. But with the Sun, Mercury, and Mars all in the sign of Scorpio, there is
oh.
the tendency to be forced to choose a side. So
Mm,
remember that as we're going through the month of November, be careful in, committing to one side or the other side, or the more neutral we can remain, the better.
mhm,
Not only for our own well-being, but for, again, staying grounded for those that are going through hell right now.
mhm,
We're very lucky to be not in a state
mm.
of going through
So
hell
lucky.
like so many other people in the world are right
Yeah.
now. Um, Mercury, the planet of communication, will leave Scorpio on the 10th of November. And it'll give us a chance to kind of lighten up a little bit. I think that Sagittarius is the sign of kind of shooting from the hip. I call it foot and mouth syndrome when someone has Mercury in Sagittarius because they say things before they
Mm,
speak. So it's important to connect to humor, just kind of like at the beginning of this recording. It's important to laugh. It's important to connect to humor. It's important also though to really think about what you're saying before you say it
mhm.
because of all of the divisive energy.
Yeah.
One of the major things that's happening in the Western world is Saturn, the planet of restriction, is in the water sign of Pisces right now. And
Mm,
for months, it's been retrograde. It's going direct on November 4th. And Saturn is the planet of responsibility and restrictions. Pisces is the sign of empathy. So we're
oh, yeah.
seeing a lack of empathy as Saturn stations to go
Mm,
direct.
interesting.
So a lot of the things that are going on out there in the world are restricting that feeling of empathy. However, one of the things that it is also restricting is a lack of boundaries.
Mm,
Pisces is
mm,
the sign in the Western zodiac that's the final sign that doesn't have boundaries. It's the endless
okay.
abyss. It's like gas, right? You can't see it, but you
Mm-hmm.
know that the water particles are in the air,
Mm,
or a mist kind of an energy. With Saturn moving direct in the sign of Pisces, there is going to be an enforcing of boundaries, but there's also going to be a lack of empathy. So we need to be really, really super careful this
mhm,
month and have empathy for maybe those that we haven't had empathy for in the
mhm,
past.
mhm. Oh, isn't that the truth? Man, it's so intriguing how much the Western world and the Eastern are just, they're more in alignment.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, because sometimes it feels like one balances out the other. where one is doing one thing and the other has
Right.
picking up. But this one feels like they're just on the same path.
Yeah.
Is that like a stronger energy to you? Does that feel like it's got more power behind it and more influence on us when it's like that?
Well, I think that uh, yes and no. I think that there's power behind what's going on outside of ourselves. There's power about what's going on inside of ourselves, and the planets are just influencing all of that. So are
Hmm.
these zodiac animals. When we come upon a month where there's high water in both Western and Eastern, we need to take note of that and prepare for it. I
Hmm.
personally like to know what's coming.
Hmm. Me too. Yeah, I think it's important. Okay, like we said though, not to worry and fear it, but
No.
just to, it's just like it's gonna. You look at the weather app and you know it's gonna rain this afternoon or it's gonna snow. You throw the snow scraper in the back seat of the car and some mittens, and you know that if something happens, you're prepared.
Yeah.
It's just like that. All right,
Yeah.
you're shuffling. Let's pull a card.
Oh, interesting.
It always is.
The ego card.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's
Archangel
the ego card.
Jophiel.
A false sense of entrapment, being overly focused on material things, negative or fear-based thoughts.
That's pig. That's
So
water.
that's pig, that's water. It's about checking your ego at the door.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yep.
not necessarily about what we personally each want. It's about the collective. And when we let our guard down and when we let our egos go and check ourselves at the door, it makes for a much more peaceful place on the planet.
Okay, that's going to be the sign on my front door
Check
for
your
the
ego at the
holidays.
door. You're not allowed in.
Drop it right here.
Instead of no soliciting, you can say no ego.
Oh, I love it. Any final thoughts before we say goodbye until December?
I've got a class coming up on, I believe it's November 14th. We're covering Pluto, the planet of death, rebirth, and transformation. We're going to talk about how it's been making its way through the sign of Capricorn for the last 20 years
Mhm.
and how it's going to be entering Aquarius in 2024 for good for the next 20 years until 20
Oh,
or
that's
2044.
right. That's an important time, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is.
Wow. Perfect timing for that class.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll provide a link to access that so everybody can jump in. It's such a good class, and I hope next year you up the price.
What?
Up the price next year.
Up the price? Oh, I'm planning on it.
Okay. I love you. Thank you so much for your
Love you
insights.
too.
Bye bye. Bye,
Bye.
everyone.